Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hello and welcome to the Line Life podcast. My name is Amy Fishbach and I'm the field editor for T&D World magazine. For part 4 of our Faces of the Future podcast series, we are featuring guest Melissa Dawe of Connect Atlantic Utility Services. Melissa, thank you so much for taking time out to join us today for the Line Life podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Mel, to begin, can you talk about how you got interested in a career in the line trade? I'd love to hear more about how you got exposed to the trade when you were a traffic controller.
So when I was a traffic controller, I was working with Nova Scotia Power a lot. So I was a flagger for them for quite some time. So I got to see when they're out on the road and when they're working on storms and all the stuff that they were doing. And it was like, I didn't even know it was a career until I started doing that. So I instantly got so involved in it. Like I applied for the school and I just went right for it. And ever since I've just been so happy.
And you went to Nova Scotia Community College for a little while. Can you talk about the training that you received there?
Yep. The course is called Utility Linework Construction and Maintenance. What we did was we did a lot of electrical theory and we learned how to climb the wooden poles and do some pole top rescue, and we learned how to frame your basic structures like your 3-phase lines, your single phase, and they really teach you more. They want you to do it safe, and so they have all these checklists that you have to check off by the time you graduate, and it's a really good course. I enjoyed it. I was the only female in my class, too.
How did that feel for you to be the only woman in the class?
It wasn't bad. I got along very well with everybody, and we all kind of helped each other throughout the whole year. And it was during COVID, so there was all kinds of restrictions, and it was crazy, but it was really good. We had a really good class, and, it was kind of nice being the only girl, so, it kind of made me feel a little, I could do this.
Absolutely. And now you're a 4th-year apprentice. Congratulations. That's fabulous. Can you talk about what kind of work you're doing in the field right now?
So right now I'm doing, for people that are doing renovations to their house or upgrading their meters. So we're disconnecting their services and we come back later in the day to reconnect them after their meter base and stuff has been inspected. So we're doing a little bit of that. We're doing some street lights, and we're also doing Generalinks. So people that are getting the adapter put onto their house on their meter base so they can plug in a generator. So we do disconnects for them as well.
And Mel, now can you talk a little bit about finding a job after you graduated from the community college? You had mentioned that it was kind of hard and you were glad for the opportunities you got with the contractor.
Yeah, so I really struggled with getting a job. I got on with a communications company, VistaCare. They were fantastic, but I've applied to multiple power line companies, storm companies, and I've actually had it said to me, it would cause too much tension in homes to put me out on a truck, or I should check out, the utilities a little harder, that are bigger utilities, because they have a more gender equity program. So I had that all said to me. So I ended up joining my local union, 1928, the IBEW. I signed up for that and I got put on a non-working list. So I started paying dues and my name just went down on the list, and then I got a call from Connect and I've been here ever since and I love it.
That's fantastic. And you said you really like the crews that you're working with right now. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, actually I get along very well with all the crews. I've gotten a chance to kind of dip my hands in quite a bit, like transmission work and distribution work and all that fun stuff. So all the crews that I've been on here in this company have been fantastic.
That's wonderful to hear. And why do you think it's important to have training in both transmission and distribution as a line apprentice?
I think it's important because, it's all part of what you're working on. It starts somewhere, and it's good to have that wide range of knowledge. And it also helps build your core. Like in transmission, the equipment is heavier, like the structures are higher, everything's so much bigger. And it's nice to have that, because when you go into like distribution, the equipment's a little bit smaller, but the work's still just as hard. But it's really, I think it's very important to have experience on both, because there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences, and you really want to know everything you're working on.
And Mel, now let's talk about storms. I remember you talking about restoring power following a major hurricane. What was that like for you?
So I was on, it was Hurricane Fiona. We were on that for 22 days. Like the crews that came here were crazy. Like we had people from the States, we had people from Quebec, like all come in, and it was long. There was a lot of damage here, and a lot of people were having a hard time. But I mean, we all stuck together and we really fought through it. We did a great job, and even after that, we still are working on some minor damages that are still from that storm.
And then how do you feel about being part of the line trade, and what is your favorite part of being a line worker?
I really enjoy the climbing. I really enjoy being part of the brotherhood here. It's like totally different. Like I'm a firefighter, and like there's a brotherhood there, but the brotherhood when it comes to line work, they are literally your family. And like when I'm on the road, they are my family, and we really do look out for each other. It's really nice, and everybody here seems to be really patient, and they're really good to teach you. I think that's very important, because there's some people that I talk to from other companies that really struggle with that, and I'm very fortunate that I don't have that issue.
Absolutely. And then what do you think it takes to succeed in the apprenticeship for today's apprentices?
You got to realize that you're not going to learn everything in one day, and you're always going to continue to be learning, because you just got to be patient with yourself. You start slow, and during time with that knowledge and experience, you get faster at what you're doing, and you do it safer because you kind of allowed yourself to, be at your own pace.
And then talk about what you like to do in your free time. I remember you saying that you are a volunteer firefighter, which is very cool. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm a volunteer firefighter for the Spring Hill Fire Department. So when I'm home, I do a lot of fundraisers with them, and we do medical calls and fires and stuff like that, and training. So it's really cool to still be a part of that. I've been a volunteer now for 8 years, and it's a big part of my life, and I really take pride in that.
And Mel, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years, and how do you plan to reach that goal?
I really want to get my journeyman ticket, which I should get next year. But I really want to be an inspiration to other women and coming into the trade, because it's, although things have progressed a lot when it comes to equality, there's still lots that could be done. But I know for me, I had two really big role models, like just super inspiring to me, Raylan Hocko and Sydney Schultz. I looked up to them since I started, and they have been fantastic. And they're always willing to, you could reach out to them and, ask them questions, and they're so willing to help. And I just want to be that for other women coming into the trade. And I also want to show them that, you can do this. You can also be a teacher for the new generations coming in.
So, Mel, what do you think as a woman? What are some things that work for you or didn't work for you during your apprenticeship? And what are some things that you learned that you may be able to pass on to other women who are considering a career in the line trade?
So for me, I found there's some things obviously that men have a little bit easier of a time with. But when I was doing tower re-insulating, when I was down on the ladder, I couldn't just lift up the 3 or 6 ton jack and flick it over. I had to really lean down, and I had to use my leg strength, because that's the only way I was able to do it. But, you just got to find what way works best for you. You don't have to make things hard, and you don't have to be ashamed to ask for help either, because even some guys ask for help too.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And then what about clothing and personal protective equipment? Have you been able to find things that fit you?
Yeah, I've been able to find a lot of stuff through a company. It's called MWG. They're online. I think they're based out of Montreal, I think. But it's MWG, but they have a female clothing line specific for like arc flash and fire resistant, and I find that works really well.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. And then talk a little bit about safety. How are you staying safe while working as an apprentice in the field?
It's very important to, like the biggest thing here is you always want to wear your gloves. Like if you're working in the primary, you're wearing your class 3s. If you're working on your secondary, you're wearing your class O's. And, you really got to pay attention to what's around you. Don't be afraid to ask questions and don't just try to do something without really knowing, because it can be a very dangerous job. So you really want to pay attention to your surroundings when you're doing things. And it's a big thing. We do have a standard work method book that we have to carry with us at all times. So if you're ever stuck, maybe I should be doing something a different way, you can look at that. It's like a Bible.
And then what do you see in the future for line work?
I think there's a lot of work, because especially now with the infrastructure, just trying to keep up with everything that's coming out, like the new cars and the chargers and stuff, like everything needs to be upgraded, and they're struggling to find people. But there's so much opportunity with this trade that it's mind-blowing. Like you can do communication work, you can do distribution work, you can do substation, underground, you can start getting yourself into crane operating. Like it's so broad where you have so much opportunity in just one industry.
Melissa, thank you so much for joining us for the Line Life podcast. We enjoyed hearing about your experiences working in the line trade.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlewaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.